Separator. This is an OWS. This is a system that's on vessels that keeps oil from being discharged overboard. It goes through a filtering system, and we actually have two pieces of equipment here. We have the oil water separator or oil filtering equipment, and then we also have this unit here, which is called an oil content meter. Both pieces of equipment need to be approved either by IMO or by the U.S. So we're going to walk through how an oily water system works. This is a condensed unit in a lab, so every unit is different when you go on a vessel. Educate yourself, talk to the vessel reps, and understand how the system works. So this tank here is representing several things. This is representing an overboard discharge if my part per million was below 15. If it's not below 15, then it would go recirc back to my bilge tank and or settling tank. And then this also represents, this clear tube represents the sludge tank. So I'll talk about that in a moment, how the sludge system works, how the sludge builds up. So when this starts, we have three phases. You can look at it this way. We have three phases. The first phase is decanting. So as oil and water separate, the bottom here, water, will be drawn through by using this pump, drawn through the first filter. The primary filter pulls out the large oil droplets and collects through this media. The media is what's filtering it. If you look on the back side of this primary filter, as it comes out of the first filter stage, it then drives through the pump. The pump is necessary after this primary filter so it doesn't emulsify that oily water. As it pushes out of the pump, it then goes here into this secondary filter, and on this particular unit it's called a polishing pack. And inside of here they use organo clay that helps take out the smaller droplets, oil droplets in there, that cleans it more, and then comes out through here to these valves. Now these two valves are two-way valves. You may find on your vessel, on the vessel you're on, is a three-way valve. So either way it's going to work the same way. I either recirculate back to the bilge tank, or if it's below 15 part per million, it will discharge and go overboard. When this is processing, this oil content meter is reading a sample through here while it's either going overboard or recirculating through this photocell and determining if the part per million is above or below 15 parts. Once that's done, it then comes out in a closed loop system and returns back to the oily water that's being processed. Again, if it's over 15 part per million, it goes back to the bilge tank. If it's the last part of this is the sludge that builds up. As all the oil builds up in this filter system here, as it builds here and comes down, this sensor tells it if it's too much. If it reads too much sludge, then this goes into a cleaning mode. That cleaning mode allows fresh water to be pushed through by this valve and then refills this unit and pushes it out through this valve, which then pushes the sludge out of here and sends it to the sludge tank. Once this is done and the sensor no longer reads sludge, then this valve closes and the system goes back into the normal operating mode, either recirculating or discharging. Okay, to recap, this line diagram represents a machinery space. Each point here that says bilge suction represents various points in the machinery space that takes it to a common manifold. That bilge manifold then will be lined up to take through the bilge pump. Bilge pump will then take it over to the bilge settling tank here. This is where decanting takes place. And then when they're ready to run the OWS, they'll open these valves, draw it through the primary filter, through the pump, through the secondary filter process, and then remember it goes through the oil content meter. If it's over 15 part per million, this valve opens up, takes it, recirculates it to the settling tank. If it's under 15 part per million, this valve will open up and take it overboard. When too much sludge is built up in this area here after processing, the sensor senses that. The clean water valve opens up, floods the system, pushes everything over here to the sludge tank. Once that's done, then this lines back up and starts processing again. The next one just represents another valve, three-way valve, as I mentioned before, to go between a two-way or a three-way, just depends on the system that's on the vessel. And lastly, just note that not all oily water separators are the same. It's imperative that you not only familiarize yourself with the basic operations of an OWS and oil content meter, but also with the vessel-specific systems.